So I was snowboarding and my groin tweaked. It was after 5 days of snowboarding, so the body was quite fatigued. We were moving around hotels, so sleep wasn't the best as well. And then the groin was fine-ish when I got home, so I was squatting heavy because that was the cycle that I'm on. I didn't adjust to what I was at, and I ended up tweaking my back doing that. Point is, if you have a tightness or you have a weakness in your back or something like that, or even in your hips or up into your shoulders, it can affect how your body moves completely. So we want to use the body as a whole unit, and that is where the center of the body can start getting healed in terms of the hips and the back. Even if your shoulders are tight, that can affect your hips because the lats are attached. There's also other stuff that is attached through different chains, but that's a direct attachment. Same thing with the feet. Feet are tight or weak, or you can't walk without orthotics, things like that. You end up changing how you walk, which changes how your tibia and your femur rotate. And now you got this crazy rotation into your hips. And well, that's not the best thing when your hips are constantly rotated one way or the other. Typically, it's externally rotated, they're rotated out. So you see, especially guys that walk with their like almost like duck feet. That's going to change everything in your hips. Your glutes start getting extra tight. Your groin doesn't know how to move or contract. So all these different things. And Ruben was talking about we want to learn to contract in a short range as well as in a long range. Because sometimes the issue is that we just don't have the strength or activation for it to keep that way the whole day. But we have to teach it how to do that. That's the point of exercise, is to get the movement back in a slow way so we can then do stuff fast, get back to sprinting, use the glutes, hamstrings, calves, quads, everything that's supposed to be connected for sprinting. There's a reason sprinters have a strong core. Almost all sprinters that I know have a six pack. And part of it is because they have to use their core a ton to stabilize everything while the rest of their body works to move through things while their hips move and function. So we want to get the body as one unit together. Um, is that's I think
No, that's
that's
a great recap.
covered.
Yeah. I completely agree. And yeah, it's tightness on all four sides of the hips, right? Behind the hips and the hamstrings, the glutes,
Yep.
in the inside of the hips and your groin, your adductors, outside of the hips, which is like your piriformis. Also, it would take up a big part of this external rotation. And then in front of the hips, your hip flexors, which I think is the biggest one. When you have tightness, you use their areas, it's a lot harder to rotate or do any sports movements. That's why so many injuries occur when you have a lot of tightness there. And then in everyday life, same thing. If you're playing with your kids, if you're playing if the lot, you don't have the mobility to get in it, the tissues might not be able to tolerate it because they don't have that ability yet. So we want is to create a stimulus that's stronger than those that you would experience in everyday life, and even stronger if you're going to be doing sports, so that you're more injury resilient in these positions that cause a lot of force to these areas, right? So that's why we do strength training through full range of motion, because that strengthens these tissues in the most extreme positions that you could get into, so that when you are in them, even if by accident, not on purpose, then you are going to be protected in them.
Exactly. That's good additive to that. And exactly what we opened up with. So I'm glad you added that in. So let's go into the how to get out of hip and back pain, how to what they should do to start all of those different things. Protocols. I think one of the best ways to look at it is seeing the four sides of the hip and looking inside, outside, front, and back. And that's not just down in the legs, but that's also you look into the core as well. Are your rectus abdominals, are they strong? Are your core in the front strong? Or is it just the top two? Oftentimes you'll see people very strong top two abs. They're here. It's actually emphasizing the hunched over position. These are contracted. Maybe we need to bring some length into those. Your lower back. Are your um, spinal erectors, are they strong? Like in general, are the spinal erectors all the way up your back strong? Because that's going to support your spine in the movement. Same thing with a QL. Does a QL actually rotate you this way with your obliques? Are the obliques contracted? Then you look at the glute, the groin, the quads, hip flexors, and um, the abductors as well. glutes are back and side, but they do different functions. It sounds like a lot. You're like, "Oh, how am I supposed to do all of this?" And that I understand, like, there are a lot of things, and that's why most people get stuck in, "I'll just be in the pain for the rest of my life." It's like, no, there's a reason that me and Ruben do what we do because there is a lot to learn about it, and then you can give people faster results once you understand it more and you have different, "Oh, I worked with this client who had this and this and this." Every client I've worked with back pain has had a different solution in terms of what the best exercise is. So you could say this is the best exercise. A split squat works wonders for most people's backs. It really does. It feels great, opens up the hip flexors, starts teaching them to contract their glutes. But sometimes it's not the solution for people. And their split squat looks great, but they wake up in the morning, got back pain. I've seen it. The way that I like to look at it is we want to isolate it. So we want to look at where you're the weakest. Where this is, for Tal as well. This is methodology on fixing injuries. So you got isolate. We want to find where there's that pain, and we want to work through it. So if the pain is directly in the lower back, we're going to isolate some of the muscles around there to see which ones are weak. Then we're going to strengthen those up in an isolation exercise that's not contracting the rest of the body, the movement. If we want to integrate that, so if we just work the isolation, it doesn't apply much to life, but it can get you the contraction back so you can start to integrate it. So integration is like a squat, a split squat. We're working the whole body as one movement, or the whole lower body system. But even in a squat, is an upper body. Upper body is contracted while you're doing it. It's not an upper body exercise. But that's the point, is the body's working together in integration. And the last one is improvisation. So doing movement that's not controlled. A squat pattern is controlled. You're going down, you're going back up, trying to rotate and do all these funky things while you're doing it. But even I like to do a little bit of rope flow. I think rope flow can help people start to turn their body. If you have a sport that you like to do, that's improvisation. But the issue is if you play right-handed pickleball, you never learn how to play left-handed. You probably haven't, which it means you're actually building an imbalance. So in the gym, if you play left-handed and you just tap the ball against the wall left, you'll start learning how awkward it is to load up that hip and then push through with the hip. It'll make you better at the other side as well, but that's all the improvisation. And it'll open up the different ranges that you need to get the results in the hip. So Ruben, you want to add anything to that as I kind of went through that whole, that's my system around it, and I would love to know where you go with that.
That's pretty much, yeah. I mean, I pretty much use the same system. Is like during the assessment, you want to determine, okay, what are the qualities that you're struggling with the most? And it's like, let's work on that first, like double up on those movements. Can be with different varieties, or just if there's one specific one that you really struggle with, let's do that one, 2-3 times a week. So isolating those and then integrating it into other movements that also work that area, but that it's not necessarily the primary mover, right? So with the lower back, if somebody's having a really hard time being an extension, you slowly progress their ATG split squat, you slowly progress their arm hammer raises or leg lifts, things that you strengthen with the hip flexors, and then that will help you to be better at that extended position, as well as directly strengthening that area, right? Which we already did at the isolation. And then, as you said, improvising. So this is where movement drills come in. Where what I see a lot of people do is like they only do the movement drills and they don't do any of the direct strengthening because they're not, yeah, they don't realize that they actually have to, that the obstacle is the way that you have to work on getting that area stronger instead of just doing things that are going to improve balance, quote unquote. So this is the exact same process I use, which is awesome. I mean, that's why we're connected. We have so many things in common. What I do want to add is maybe starting with the rep ranges, right? This is something that people don't know, and what we do as coaches is kind of guiding through that. But starting with like a high rep range that isn't going to challenge them because they might not be able to do as much as testing. And even some people, if they can't do high reps, then even start at like fine with the most regressed version of something. Whatever you do, where you should always look for afterwards is like, okay, am I feeling pain after the session or maybe the day after, and just monitor that. So another big thing that's a part of it, a part of the mindset of this process is tracking. How you feel the next day. You know, what's my pain scale today? What's my muscle fatigue today? And the amount of tension and the stretches that you're getting. You never want to be at a 5. You always want to be within like a 1 to 3 at most in all of these skills. And just being patient with yourself because you know, you might want to be ready for something in a month. And in that case, there is a little bit more sense of urgency. But if you're just trying to get out of pain and you're just trying to be healthy for life, then you need to take this at a gradient scale and not try to rush things too quickly, not try to add too much weight, and not work through an amount of pain that is that you know is gonna hurt later on. And how do you know? Again, you go back to tracking. So it's a very, very slow approach, but I think movement is and getting stronger and getting more flexible is gaining more ability is a great way for getting out of pain. And it's the way that most people don't do because they don't have this on. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. I always say that the isolate and integrate is what allows me to improvise and have fun. So
Ah, that's good.
I love to sprint in terms of playing sports, futsal, pickleball, volleyball. Well, not right now, but all of the different sports. I love to play them, but they're a lot of the time one sided with a dominant side, which creates imbalances. Easiest way to fix that because I'm competitive is to get it in the gym because I can see how that movement works and slow it down versus when I'm playing with a guy on the other side that I'm trying to beat. I'm going to use my best arm to get there. And what I've seen is actually slowing that down in the gym is a make better player on the field on the court because my body now knows how to rotate to the left arm swing and it knows how to rotate to the right arm swing.
Hmm.
So if the ball gets randomly hit way outside, this isn't a foreign motion for me anymore. It doesn't tweak my back when I way and rotate because the hips are actually locked up. So all this rotation's coming from my hips are supposed to open up, then power comes through them. All of that comes together. The last thing I want to add on that, having different angles with the hips, with the move. So look at glutes, for example. There's so many different stretches for the glutes. One stretch can be best for you, that can be best for someone else. But once you get good at that, really should move on to the next one. You'll start feeling something different. Where piriformis to the incline pigeon, the flat pigeon to wall, glute, and all of those are going to hit different areas. Glutes are some different layers to it as well. That
Mhm.
because you're like, oh, this one's easy. I have open glutes and really good, and then you start doing a standing piriformis, and
Yes.
it hurts. But
Sure.
the good hurt, that stretch pain, the like group thing. You want to go through pain. The analogy I use with my client, if it feels like a broken bone in terms like it easy hurts, in that sense, like a deep hurt, it's not something we want. We want to avoid that. And a broken bone, yeah, that's pretty intense. Dial that down a little bit. We don't want to, but if it feels like almost like a foreign, like issues, then that's what we're doing. Like that's what we're actually doing. It if we can open up those muscles, ligaments, tendons, all stuff, all of a sudden the hip hurt movement better. But yeah, that's what it looks like to live pain free. What are some standard proven that you for strength, longevity, what aiming to get people with move?
So each of the movements that we use, they all have standards for longevity, for um, performance. You know, we can go, that could be a whole nother podcast. But as far as like just getting out of pain, I think being able to maintain a flat ground split squat is the biggest one for hip flexors, especially in today's society. Right. Like I've trained so many people and done so many assessments. And I would say maybe like there's like 5 people that have ever been able to do like a flat ground split squat on the first try. Right. Out of like, I don't know, maybe like almost 1,000 of it for. So like a flat ground 8 split squat would be like performing it. How can't really see his face, but like being able to
Yeah, you can see it.
You know, like you cuts hip flexor, this rear knee off the ground.
Yep.
You get full hands to your calf curvature.
Yep.
It's gonna be really illegal. Just focusing on the sack, like keeping this off the ground is having that hip flexor ability, right? You don't necessarily need a real you split to beat that pretty. But having that hip flexor mobility makes a huge difference for so many movement patterns in life. So I would say that's like the biggest. That's like the biggest standard for me as far as like hips. Lower back, being able to do 20 reps on a back extension is another one. If you can do 20 reps in a row, no, most things that you're gonna do in life. You can, if you want to go further, adding loads to those exercises is great. But as far as just movement in general, it's like being able to run in sprints, right? Being able to cross legged and be able to get off the floor without using your hand. I think are two huge markers of standards that every man or woman should be able to do. Um, Especially very important to maintain as we get older, because that keeps your movement freedom, that keeps your personal sovereignty, so you don't have to rely on life alert. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it was the biggest ones for me. You know, split squat, being able to do 20 back extensions, uh, um, and then sprinting, and then sitting cross leg,
Yep.
and getting off the ground without using your hands. What about you?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add to that, seated good morning or something that's with the hips open as well. Maintaining a strong seated good morning. Most people have no strong seated good morning. Um, hopefully you're not relying on some life alert there.
I mean,
But with it,
don't get me
I'll
wrong.
work on you, man. Um, but well,
Actually, no easy feed, Jim.
yeah,
He's another ATG coach. He's pretty. I don't think he has to rely on life alert, but that's pretty funny.
yeah. He's in Oregon. Can you guys help me out? Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll be there in. I'll start driving once this is. Um, yeah, the seated good morning, really good and valuable. Probably the hardest ones I've found to code for people. So many different things that often go wrong. The knees start caving in, points, glutes don't activate to open up the hip, back, face straight. But as you go through it, the movement starts to actually change how you move in daily life, and it can open that crisscross applesauce cross leg. However you want to call it. When I was in high school, I couldn't sit with my legs crossed. I had to put my hands around my knee, hug my knees to keep my hips or bad to let the hips drop down. The groin was that tight. And it's like I'll sit I was lost for 30 minutes. Honestly, that's like I think if someone sit on the ground for 30 minutes, that's a huge like if you keep that throughout your life, how much better off are you gonna be in like sit with a great spine, like keep keep the body in a good posture while you're sitting with your legs crossed and try to just let your sink down to where your knees side or touch the ground beside. That's a very good exercise, and it doesn't feel like it as you're there for a long enough time. It's like, oh, there maintaining a sprint and a run. I encourage people to do that. Like, oh, well, that's dangerous. You do it with a sled. Sled will slow down the movement pattern, so it's a lot less injury prone. And then if you feel comfortable, go learn how to sprint, but don't do it competitively. Don't time yourself. Just genuinely feel the sprint and kind of just start running. Eventually, it's timing yourself. But if you just start doing it without any headed back to the sprint, then you're going to be less likely to go. So those are two ways to help the sprint get back. Especially I sprinted in 2 years. How the heck do you think I'm going to sprint? It's like, yeah, it could take you a year to get back to comfortably sprinting. To do it with a sled, do it with different things, get the cardio aspect back with, and then yeah, split squat, back extension, posterior chain and curl, the RDL as well. All of those combined, there's so much different things in those. When they get strong, it creates the bulletproof hips. I hate the bulletproof just because no one's bulletproof. But at the same time, like that, we want to get your body to feel like it's breakable. Soon enough, you'll be snowboarding and break a collarbone, realize it's not. But
You
you'll find out, like, the stronger your body is, the faster you'll recover. So it almost is unbreakable in the sense as you'll become stronger and stronger. Then you do fall into an injury, and I'll put it back. I was doing pull-ups and put 4 weeks, 5 weeks after surgery. Like, that's pretty insane.
yeah.
People are, you look it up on the internet, it says wait 14 weeks. So I climbed down quite a bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, strength, longevity.
No, I'm with you. Just to add to that, I don't think the term bulletproof, that gets thrown around a lot, right? I don't think it's, I don't think anybody's bulletproof, as you mentioned. Like, injuries will still happen, but we're more injury resilient because, as you said, you're able to come back a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Right. So every time something does happen, it's like, okay, you have the tools, you know how to come back to it. It empowers you to come back from injuries a lot quicker. Right. Maybe not getting shot at, or, like, everybody has a recovery for that. But even then, maybe so, because we know that movement healing helps.
Yeah.
Um, so, but as far as like having bulletproof hips, or like, quote unquote,
Yeah.
having really injury resilient hips, I think some mobility standards that we can add to that would be like, because like we started doing that with a fly ground split squat with your knee off the ground, being able to do a pancake, get your head to the floor, is another one, and then being able to do a flat ground pigeon and 90 degrees and getting you can see that here, be able to get your head to your foot on like a flat ground pigeon, and then being able to do a pike and get your hands flat to the floor, keeping the knees locked out. So I think those would be like all 4 areas of the hip, right? Inside, back of the hip, front of the hip, and then and then the glutes. So I think those four would be like the key for the longevity ones. The strength ones, as you said, would be more, I think, for performance, right? But you still want to be able to you still want to be able to maintain them. So your whole posterior chain strength. You mentioned hamstring curl. What's a good standard for hamstring curl, or for
Yeah.
knee person?
Because each machine has a different strength curve, so I can't get you a number on it. Most of the time, you'll know if you're strong in it. That's what I it's by body weight, I would say. It's the strength dependency, but it's hard for a curl because machines are so different. So it's like if I created the number, it would be a number per machine. This is too many machines to do. Like even the machine that rod is like a rent. Like it's a great machine, but it's not a known company that makes it. So my number is going to be different than the hammer strength number or the Atlantic or whatever, or whatever other they have. So the numbers I say are a little bit different. Um, Good morning. What is it? 25% per hand is like a big, and I even say you should probably get a little bit stronger than that. Uh, but 5% body weight per hand is a good number to get to. I also wanted to add with the mobility stuff that you were saying. That stuff, even now, like I can do a lot of that. Um, have easy flexibility, which is good. But give yourself time. You might look at it like saying, "I got to get my hands flat on the floor to be back pain free." Like, what? Put my head on the floor when I'm like, no, and you don't have to do those things. There's things that you can work towards that show that you have mobility at the hips. And that's where it's a constant learning process, and you continue to build out the body that you want by kind of having some goals and being like, okay, this is something that I want to do. I want to get my head to the floor while I'm doing a standing pancake. Then I had a bunch of groin issues. So for me, pretty much 2.5 years of working on that before I get it. The reality is like it wasn't my main focus. I'm being completely honest. If it was my main focus, I probably could have done it a lot faster.
Yeah.
But my main focus was to continue playing sports. So I was re-injuring it while I was playing sports because that's what happens.
Yeah.
You know, was like, "Okay, fix this," but it got there. So continual work is always gonna be better than for intense for like a period of time. having some goals, like building it up. My RDL is pretty strong. So I've done 3 4 8 on RDL, like in all the way down. The knuckles are like close to the feet. So the strength is there, the mobility is there. Mobility is strength and flexibility together. So if you create the mobility, that's where you'll have the longevity. You're strong throughout the whole range, not fragile once you get a certain range like that. Well, I think that's kind of a good way to wrap it up. Do you have anything to add on that, Lewis?
Absolutely. I think one thing that we touched upon when we first started the live, but we touch it up on it again, are the benefits of getting out of hip and back pain.
Yeah.
Not only do you feel not in pain, you have this weight lifted off your shoulders, you also feel younger. You know, like I mentioned, I started at 23. I had a herniated disc. Everything was super tight. I was obese, and then working on getting more mobile and getting stronger led to me. Like I feel like I'm 23 now, as opposed to then. Now I'm 30, but I feel like I stayed at that age or felt even younger because I'm more athletic now than I was as a kid. So the benefits of that is like longevity, makes you feel younger. You don't have so much fear around movement, and which opens up a whole world of things that will make you feel better, help you keep your dopamine levels up, right? So it's very free, and it can also get rid of things like knee pain, right? A lot of knee pain is actually caused by tightness or weakness in the hips and lower back. Because the other parts of your body are compensating. You can also help you improve your collarbone rehab, as you mentioned, because all this is connected up to the lats. So there's so many benefits to getting out of hip and back pain. They're life. So a lot of these crazy hip results, like I had a client that went from having sciatic nerve pain to running 5Ks within like a month or two of working. With me, and it's just because she needed to address the hips, like a lot of these areas that are neglected in other styles of movement, which is nothing to say against them, but it's just yeah, it's good to know these things so that you can incorporate them into your own practice.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. That you just start feeling better. So we want everyone that across the phase to feel better, even if we don't work with them directly. So I know both of us are building our communities that we can start having people get more access to us, being able to do different movements and how to do movements. And then we also have bot that are calling. So I have a coaching application. You can put in some information and schedule a call, get you set up. And I know Ruben has a call link in his bio. So if you're like, "Hey, talk to both of you guys, technically you can. And you talk to us if you want to just talk to one of us, and that's available as well. So I hope that all of this helped you out. You're like, okay, I understand where I'm coming from, and I want to move forward and feel younger, have more joy in my life, and do all of the things that the younger me didn't have time for. Now I can. So able to do those things of playing with your grandkids, going back to sports. How long have you been out of sports? Gee, be able to just generally move, get down and off the ground, grab us things off the top shelf, climb on the counters to get the very top stuff. Is that uh I don't think that's out of reach for so yeah. I think that's the to wrap it up.
Yeah, that's epic, man. Thank you so much for joining in and giving the people some value. I always appreciate connecting with you, brother.
Love it.
And yeah, I learned a good bit. I really like your protocol and the improvised part of it specifically. I really need to work on that myself. So I'm working on both sides. Throwing more with the left hand is only going to make you better at the right, right? Getting rid of any weakness is going to make you stronger. So let's go tackle some of those weak plates, man. I really appreciate your time. And if you guys want to hit up Steven at Mo Ability, you're going to be running a community focused workouts going forward. So if you guys are interested in those group workouts, make sure you get with him. Thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon. All right. Peace out, brother. Good job.